Pakistan subsequently built a dam to divert water from western rivers to eastern rivers, because as we started building our dams, the eastern rivers completely dried up in Pakistan. Saudi Arabia in the past has also been the benefactor of Pakistan. In fact, Saudi Arabia and UAE to a very great extent have kept Pakistan's economy afloat. Even Op Sindoor, of course, 6th of May, we targeted 9 terrorist targets. These were purely terrorist targets. They were precision strikes. The deepest, 4 of them were in Pakistani heartland of Punjab, and 5 of them in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. He said, this is actually a Brahmastra, which we have actually used. Pakistan cannot survive without Indus waters. And what is happening is, to compound their problem, the Kabul River, which is the only major western tributary which comes from west, also is being diverted by Taliban in Afghanistan. They are trying to build a dam and they don't have any treaty. So they are trying to do that. So that will create even bigger problem. Because in Pakistan, what happens is that water is such an issue that the 4 provinces have always been fighting on water. The topic that's been given to me is Operation Sindoor and Indus Water Treaty. Now we have seen what Operation Sindoor has achieved. We have established a new security doctrine that any terror attack will be considered as an act of war. It's been further amplified by Prime Minister by saying that we'll make no distinction between regimes that are nurturing terror and those who are leading terrorist outfits. And we will eliminate these terrorists wherever and whenever they are. While these are pluses, there have been some negatives also, and we need to understand. And the only one negative which I want to highlight is that somehow Indian media has not really come out in a very praiseworthy manner. In fact, the credibility of Indian media has suffered immensely, because during this period, the reports that emanated, some of them were really quite comical, and some of them were actually fictitious, make-believe. I have always believed that while we all have a right to create our own narrative, the narrative needs to be based on facts. Because you, as lawyers, know it better, even though Indian law doesn't consider it, but in public perception, falsus in is falsus in mensis. So that's how it happens. So what I will do is that I feel this is a subject where we would have a greater questions, comments. So I'll try and speak briefly about this subject, and I'll bring out some facts before you, and then take on question, answers and comments so that I can try and clarify if at all you have any doubts. Now, coming to Operation Sindoor, we had 22nd April, it was a ghastly terror attack near Pahalgam. It's a meadow. It's a very nice meadow. If anybody has been to Pahalgam, they all would have visited. I have also visited this place. This is slightly inaccessible place. You have to go there. It takes a long trek to reach there. But it's a huge meadow, and a lot of people trek even beyond that. They targeted, according to state government administration, this meadow had not been opened for tourists till now. It was actually closed, but tourists had been going there, and of course there were thousands who were traveling there. I think there has been some slip up on that as far as the state government is concerned, because the policeman should have been at least present there, if nothing else. But be that as may be, this was a ghastly attack where terrorists not only came and targeted innocent bystanders, tourists, after ascertaining their religion in many cases, which was, to my mind, an attempt to incite communal violence in India. Because the timing of that attack is very important. Why this attack is very, very important is because throughout the insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir, never were the tourists targeted in such a way, because the locals have always realized that their livelihood depends on tourism. And that's why in one of the very unique facets you found, there was almost complete protest across length and breadth of Jammu and Kashmir against this dastardly attack. So obviously it was clear that whoever did it was not being controlled by local interests or anything. It was somebody else who was controlling it. And we know the only power that is actually involved is external power, that's Pakistan, that was doing it, and that there was no doubt about it. So that is the first part that we knew, that there has been this sort of a thing. The timing was even more important. It was a time when Prime Minister Modi had gone visiting Saudi Arabia, meeting Mohammed bin Salman. In Saudi Arabia, as you know, has immense relevance as far as field of Islam is concerned, as the Saudi ruler is considered the custodian of the two holy mosques and has a huge theocratic position. Saudi Arabia in the past has also been the benefactor of Pakistan. In fact, Saudi Arabia and UAE to a very great extent have kept Pakistan's economy afloat. Even today, if Saudi Arabia and UAE were to withdraw the deposits that they have in State Bank of Pakistan, the state Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves will get depleted immediately. Obviously, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Saudi Arabia had unnerved Pakistan. It didn't want that relationship between India and Saudi Arabia, which have already improved considerably, actually go to a further level. The second important facet was that it was also a time when the US Vice President was on a visit to India, with his wife, who's an ethnic Indian, were visiting India. They were in different parts of India. So I think it suited Pakistani narrative to create this sort of a heinous crime, which would have actually elicited some sort of a response and would have created a communal violence, which could have projected India in a bad light at a time when Prime Minister Modi was in the Holy Land and Vice President Vance was in India. And I have to give it credit to the Indian public that they acted extremely maturely, and we saw not one incident, barring some stray isolated incidents where some Kashmiri students were, I think, troubled a bit, but nothing major happened, and that was a credit. But immediately after that, I think when the government of India took response, one of the major things that we did was we kept the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. Now, please, you are lawyers, you understand it better. That use of terminology is very interesting, because if you go through the Indus Water Treaty, there is no provision for abrogation. Actually, the treaty doesn't have any provision for abrogation. It says mutual negotiations can be done and all those things are there. We have kept it in abeyance, and this can have some validity because we had asked them that we want to negotiate further and we want to renegotiate it, and Pakistan had not responded. So under the garb, we have kept it in abeyance. I'll come to Indus Water Treaty in a little while, because to my mind, this particular step will have far-reaching implications for Pakistan than all the military actions that we took during Ops Sindoor. And Ops Sindoor, of course, 6th of May, we targeted 9 terrorist targets. These were purely terrorist targets. They were precision strikes. The deepest 4 of them were in Pakistani heartland of Punjab, and 5 of them in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In the past, we had generally, when we had started doing cross-border operations, we initially confined it to POJK only in the earlier days. Then in Balakot, when we went to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. On 6th of May, we went to Punjab, and we went to 4 places, out of which Bahawalpur is very important because it was almost 100 plus kilometers away from the border. It was the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed. Muridke, which is the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Toiba, was very close to the border. And of course, these strikes were pinpointed. They attacked them. And then we said that we had no point. We wanted to eliminate terror, and that's why we have hit the terror spots. If Pakistan doesn't retaliate, we will not do anything. Pakistan obviously retaliated because, please understand, in Pakistan's case, Pakistan Army has assigned to itself the role of not only being the territorial guardians of Pakistan, but also ideological guardians of Pakistan. And more significantly, the prominence which the Pakistan Army enjoys within the body politic of Pakistan would diminish if tomorrow Pakistan Army is not seen to be doing anything. And as a result, their reactions were in the form which public would see. Like Indian reaction was precise, without collateral damage, absolutely pinpointed to those terror outfits. Their things were across line of control by artillery shelling, by drones, by missile attacks, which could be seen by public that something is happening, because they had to show it to their public that they are doing something. And it is here that we saw that India's air defense system worked phenomenally well and eliminated almost every single projectile that was sent from Pakistan to us. And in the second round, we targeted many of their military installations. Again, a precise attack with no collateral damage. In fact, some of them were on the runways, some of them were on radars, some of them were in hangars which destroyed their aircraft. And these were even deeper. See, a lot of people talk only of Bahawalpur, but we need to understand that the attacks subsequently which took place went to Jacobabad, which is in northern Sindh, almost close to the border of Balochistan. In fact, if you have to see the center point of Pakistan, it will probably be close to Jacobabad. The other was Bolari camp, which is actually north of Karachi. Both these targets were on western side of Indus River, which actually is a very, very far off. And all these attacks were very prominent, and thereafter, of course, we went in for ceasefire. And then subsequently, the DGMOs very clearly showed everything that had been done. They showed every target which had been hit, what was the situation before it, after it, and they showed it. This hangar, how it was, this has been hit, this radar, this runway, and very clear cut, it was visible that all these targets had been met. Pakistan also went in for a propaganda. They said they had attacked so many airfields. They said Adampur, this, that. And one of the reasons why Prime Minister went on his first visit to Adampur was to show to the world that this is the place where they have claimed that they have destroyed so and so. I am here meeting my soldiers. I am here for 1 hour. Please see for yourself. The whole global media saw it, that he was there. And that's how it is. There, of course, he articulated the new security doctrine, which has, of course, been talked about. So this, in sum total, to my mind, was Operation Sindoor. International opinion, by and large, was muted. Let me be very frank with you. They did not try and take sides. Everybody criticized terrorism. Nothing more than that. Contrary to popular perception, China did not come up with any statement as long as the conflict was there, neither in support of Pakistan nor against it. So only after the ceasefire was there, Chinese foreign minister spoke to Pakistan and said, your sovereignty, territorial sovereignty is sacrosanct and we respect it. And he spoke to India's NSA saying that we criticize the terrorist act in Pahalgam and terrorism cannot be condoned. So basically they spoke to both sides and tried to condone that. Turkey's one aircraft landed in Pakistan, which was initially said military aircraft supplies there. Then even Turkey withdrew its statement saying that no military air supplies were there. It was there. I don't know what was the truth, but we'll come to it. There is no doubt that Pakistan's military inventory, the existing military inventory, already had a large number of Turkish equipment as well as Chinese equipment. This is as far as international relations. The Azerbaijan, of course, came out with statements pro-Pakistan. By and large, that has been the scenario as far as this particular issue was concerned. If there are questions, we'll take it. Now, coming to Indus Water Treaty. This is a very important thing. As I said, notwithstanding the immense success that Indian Armed Forces gained in Operation Sindoor, its impact will be only transient. 1 year, maybe 2 years at the most. But the thing which will have a bigger impact, in fact, some of the damages could be repaired within months. But the thing which will have a greater impact is keeping Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. Now, let me make it very clear. Indus Water Treaty, as you know, was negotiated in 1962 at the behest of World Bank facilitated the mediation. Please understand, before 47, we had 6 rivers, 3 western, 3 eastern. And bulk of the canal network was created in what is Pakistan. In fact, Pakistan had the largest canal network in the world at the time of independence. Fortunately, and again this I say fortunately, we got some of the areas of Punjab which allowed us to control these works, like Suleiman Key headworks, etc. in Firozpur district. The original Red Cliff map did not give us Firozpur. It actually was subsequently changed and given to us. And there is an empirical evidence to this. Like a lot of Pakistanis claim that Gurdaspur was given to India because Nehru's proximity to Mountbatten, but there is no empirical evidence of this. Nowhere it is actually can be proved. It's a matter of conjecture. They have tried to say, and they have their reasons for doing it. But in Firozpur's case, there is an empirical evidence. There was actually a map which was sent to Governor of Punjab and Bengal before the partition, because partition was announced after 15th August. Please understand. On 15th August, a lot of people didn't know whether they were in India or Pakistan. So, the map which was given to Governor of Punjab actually showed Firozpur and Pakistan initially. But that had, we stopped water, and then the problems started, and then World Bank came and mediated. What they did was that the three eastern rivers, which actually passed through Indian territory of Punjab, Haryana, etc., were actually given to India in complete. And we, of course, built dams. Bhagla Nangal was the main dam, which was actually considered as a temple of modern India at that point of time. And the three western rivers were given to Pakistan. Pakistan subsequently built a dam to divert water from western rivers to eastern rivers, because once, as we started building our dams, the eastern rivers completely dried up in Pakistan. The moment we built up dams, we actually diverted canal. Obviously, that water was given to us. There was no business that we should be giving it to them. So, dried. So, for ecological balance, they diverted some of the water from western rivers to that rivers and that. Prima facie, as I see it, it was reasonably a fair treaty. Now, the problem starts thereafter. Now, the treaty allowed western rivers, India, lot of non-consumptive uses, firstly. That is run-of-the-river projects. You could have hydropower projects. You could have navigational projects. You could have local domestic usage, people drinking water, all these supplies. In addition, again, I reiterate, in addition, this treaty also allowed India certain consumptive usage on western rivers as well, for Jammu region and for Kashmir region, which we have not been able to exploit till date. Let me tell you very honestly, this is because we didn't need it. So, what happened was that 1960, the hydropower technology was limited. You used to build dams at a certain level which get silted, and the life of those dams was limited, and with the siltation, those dams will become, with passage of time, ineffective. Subsequently, technology developed, which had sluice gates where you could do desilting and do things. Now, what happened is that the Pakistan firstly started objecting to every run-of-the-river project that we were doing on some point. The pondage is high, the freeboard is less, and their point was that India could use it to flood it. That's the problem they started. So, they started objecting. They prevented Tulbul Barrage, which was for navigation in Srinagar, from coming up. Every single day, Bagalihar, Kishan Ganga, everywhere they kept venting. In Bagalihar, we achieved a very significant victory, where the neutral observer said that 1960s technology cannot define the designs of today, and he allowed. But unfortunately, in Kishan Ganga, while we won it, the judgment said that a treaty has to be followed. So, we had been telling Pakistan that we needed to renegotiate the treaty, not in terms of anything that we would deprive of. When Prime Minister Modi said no water will go, he was talking about the eastern river, because what happens is the eastern rivers, despite having built all the dams, when there are floods or something, we release water. So, some water goes from the eastern rivers. He said at least that water also should be utilized in India. We should be able to divert it to Rajasthan or something like that. So, we wanted to renegotiate it, which Pakistan has not done it. And of course, that's a very valid ground for us to keeping it. Now, somebody asked me, what is the impact of abeyance? If you have kept it in abeyance, you are not storage, what is the point? Now, please understand, each run-of-the-river plant has a pondage. You store certain water because you have to run the turbine, so you do it. The system that was there, that on a daily basis, if you receive X amount of water, you had to discharge between 50 to 130% of that water. That means up to half water you have to discharge, or you could discharge even more than that, depending on what you had. Within a period of 7 days, you had to discharge whatever water you were getting, you were discharging. So that's okay. That's run-of-the-river project. We are actually not hoarding anything. But what would happen? We used to share the data with them. That this is the water which has come. This is the level of ingress which is there. This is how. So they knew what water would be coming. Now what has happened? Now, so once we have kept it in abeyance, we have the freedom to stop it, keep it. When our pondage fills up, we can open it completely, discharge everything. Now, the impact of this is huge. Please understand, in Pakistan, 80% of its water needs are fulfilled by Indus water. 19% of their GDP is dependent on agriculture. 39% of their manpower is actually dependent on agriculture. Now sowing season is coming. Now if you stop the water for even 7 days, that is good enough to wilt the entire Kharif crop goes for a 6. So you can really play. You saw the photographs when Chenab water was stopped, people were crossing Chenab on foot. And then we actually opened it up again. It went. So with this, Pakistan is in a real problem. And that's one of the reasons why Pakistan yesterday said, okay, what are the terms you want to negotiate? We would be willing to negotiate. So that is what it is. So, as I said, this is actually a Brahmastra which we have actually used. Pakistan cannot survive without Indus waters. And what is happening is, to compound their problem, the Kabul River, which is the only major western tributary which comes from west, also is being diverted by Taliban in Afghanistan. They are trying to build a dam and they don't have any treaty. So they are trying to do that. So that will create even bigger problem. Because in Pakistan, what happens is that water is such an issue that the 4 provinces have always been fighting on water. Sindh, Baluchistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa feel that Punjab draws greater water from them. And as a result, the big dams that were to be constructed at Kalabagh has not come up, because 3 provincial assemblies passed a resolution saying that Kalabagh dam should not be done. In fact, one chief minister said that you can either have Kalabagh dam or the federation. Meaning that if you have Kalabagh dam, thereafter the federation is over. So that is the level of anger as far as this is concerned. In fact, just before this Operation Sindoor, the Sindh, they had blocked all the highways because they said, because Pakistan's this General Asim Munir, Hafiz-e-Quran, came with a new idea that he will have new canals built into Cholistan desert, which is in southern Punjab, to fertilize that and actually grow agriculture. He will carry. So the Sindhis said this will deprive us our water. And Sindh is a province named after Indus, Sindh. So they said you are actually doing it. So they blocked all the highways. They said we will not allow this to go. And even Pakistan's President Asif Ali Zardari and his party, which is ruling in Sindh, had to come out with it. Of course, now they even made a public statement, we are not making those canals. So Indus water is a very crucial thing. If the Indus water they start getting deprived of, you will see inter-provincial tensions will increase. There's bound to be problems and things will get aggravated. I thought I'll just speak this much and then take on any questions, comments, etc. after the other speakers have spoken. Thank you so much.